And we are back for a very useful feature of Excel, which is called pivot tables. And I think the best way to show you what pivot tables can do is to do it. So let's get right into it. We're going to make a pivot table on this data here in players. So these columns here. And to do that, we can go insert and then click on pivot table. It should automatically select all of the data. You can see it notice that these are the columns of our data. And then click on OK. It's made a new sheet and a pivot table. Let's give this a better name. I'm going to either double click on sheet 1 here, or you can right click and go rename. Either way, let's call this players pivot. That way we know that this is the pivot table. What can you do with the pivot table? Well, you can explore pretty much any of these columns. For example, I could look at players by their position. I can have one row for each position. There we go. So I drag, just to show you what I did, I'll remove this and do it again. I drag usual position into rows. And now each position is a different row. If I uncheck that, I could have done the same for player, so that each row is a different player. I'll uncheck that. Or team. Yeah. Anyway, let's do it by position. So I'll drag position into rows. So each row here is one position. And then I can add some columns. Maybe I might add the average height for this position. So if I drag height from here to here, the default, I think this is a very silly default, but it is what it is. The default is to add up the heights. So if you got all of the defenders like this one and people who just play defender, has to exactly match defender, so that doesn't count. And you added up all of their heights together, you laid them end to end, then you would have 85,000, is that centimeters? Yes, centimeters. 85,000 centimeters, which is 850, is that right? 850 meters? Crazy. If you put all the defenders together and like head to toe, then you'd make a trail that is 850 meters long. I don't think that's very useful. I think much more useful than sum is the average or the mean. So you can click on the arrow here and then click on value field settings and change it to be the average and then click OK. Now we have the average height for each position. To make it look a little bit nicer, we've got all these decimal points here, which makes it hard to compare. So hold Shift and go down to the bottom. And then you can use these tools up here to either add more decimal points, which we don't want, or fewer decimal points. There we go. So the average ruck is 202 centimeters. We can also sort these positions. So if we right click on any of these height cells, we'll have the option to sort smallest to largest. There you go. So a midfield / forward, average 184 centimeters. A ruck is on average 20 centimeters taller. Wow, amazing. Anyway, so that is one of many applications of pivot tables. I will see you next video where we look at listing the teams from the biggest teams with the most players to those teams that have only had fewer players. All right. Bye, everyone.